I have noticed the longer I've been in the kind of art world that a lot of us are neurodivergent or disabled or have a chronic illness. And as someone that is neurodivergent, it makes total sense to me why that is, because I know why I started my business. I think the reason why a lot of us disabled girlies are starting businesses is because we don't really have a choice necessarily, because we're living in a world that was not made for us and pretty much refuses to cater for us. So we kind of have to make our own little worlds and our own little bubbles to live in so that we can live a relatively happy or comfortable life. There is a direct link between disability and having a small art business, so I wanted to explore that in this video. I thought it'd be an interesting topic. I would love to engage with you guys in the comments, so do leave a comment if you have any thoughts on the topic or anything in particular that I mention, or disagree with anything that I've said, or whatever your experience is. I feel like a lot of the time I'm quite isolated, self-inflicted, but also kind of because I don't really have a choice, because I feel like I'm so misunderstood. And then I get to a point where I start gaslighting myself and I think, is it really that deep? Like, am I really struggling? Like, surely I can just get over it and do it. And I know that I can't, so it's just a stupid thought to have, and I end up going around in circles with myself and stressing myself out more. But it's still a thought that I do have. I don't want to sit around and feel sorry for myself and be all woe is me, but at the same time, I do have to come to terms with the fact that not only am I struggling, but I'm basically always going to be struggling. And that's one of the difficult things for me when I got my diagnosis, was that it's kind of a confirmation that, oh, it's not just a phase. I'm not okay mentally, and there's actually nothing I can do about that. Maybe if people are interested, I could do a whole video on being a late diagnosed autistic person with ADHD. I won't go into all the details in this video because that's not necessarily what this is about. I think there are loads of reasons why a neurodivergent or disabled or chronically ill person would want to start their own business as opposed to going out into the working world. It's obviously a lot more flexible. If I wake up one day and I'm not feeling great, then it's at my own discretion to take it slow on that day, and I'm not really reporting to anyone in terms of like, oh, am I clocking in this many hours? In theory, it should be easier to avoid burnout and like autistic meltdowns and stuff like that. I can only speak from my point of view, which is as someone with autism and ADHD. So I will, throughout the video, most likely be saying neurodivergent people or disabled people. But I do think it kind of is in what I'm talking about in this video, and like why we have small businesses. I think it does cover a wider umbrella than what I personally experience. But obviously it only makes sense for me to talk about my experience. I have only ever experienced working part-time while at uni, and I really don't understand how I would be expected to go through life with a full-time job. I just don't get it. With how burnt out and depressed I got, I'm not even joking when I say that, with that work, it does make me think, like, who was I kidding to carry on going through uni to get a normal job as a teacher? In what world would I have thought that was all right if I was struggling the way I was struggling at uni? Every job I've had, and I've worked in nurseries, I worked at a Subway on campus, I worked at a telephone company where people like phone and order taxis. I personally, and I know a lot of people like me, are just not cut out to do work like that some people might think is, oh, it's nothing sitting there answering phone calls, but to speak and speak and speak and speak as someone that processes information differently to a neurotypical person, it was just so much effort. I feel like I'm going to cry talking about this, which is so ridiculous. It's like I'm having a personal therapy session. But it was just really difficult for me. And same working in Subway, it was even worse because it was actually face to face. So as well as trying to make my voice sound a certain way and make sure I'm saying the right things and whatever, I had to show that on my face. I used to cry Like, I literally remember putting my subway cap on, and I'm literally like tears streaming down my face, and I do not want to go to work. And I kind of just assumed it's so funny looking back now as a diagnosed adult, because I can look back at all my experiences and be like, of course that is not a normal thing that I experienced, but at the time that was normal for me, and that's all I knew, and I just assumed that that's kind of how life is. You do things that you don't want to do, and you do things that are difficult. And I do low-key kind of think that's how life is. I wish it wasn't, but I do think that is a realistic kind of thing of life. But I didn't realize to the extent that I was feeling it, that actually wasn't normal. And as well as the social element of going into work and how that's difficult, there's also the need to show up even when you're not feeling 100%. And in a small business, you obviously don't have to do that. And you do, because the only way to make money is to show up in your business and do the work you need to do. But at least there isn't that added pressure of someone being dependent on you, or like you working for someone else and having to overexert yourself for their benefit. You kind of have a bit more leeway with that, I suppose. If you have flare-ups of pain, if you have just good days and bad days with your mental health, or something came up in life that you weren't expecting and it's completely thrown you, then you can kind of plan your business around that. And working for someone else, you obviously can't do that. It's the flexibility of having a small business that kind of keeps us functional, because I know that if I had gotten a job at the time I started taking this business a bit more seriously, I wouldn't have lasted, and I either would I actually don't know where I would be if it wasn't for this small business. It's funny because the reason why I think I wanted to go into teaching, and I was going to do primary teaching, is because I can kind of be more of myself when I'm around kids. I don't feel like my mask is as strong, I guess. Because all I want to do all the time is do arts and crafts and like fun little educational activities and like those kind of things. I love that stuff. That is so me. So to have that as a job as a primary school teacher would have been ideal. So I thought. But obviously the experience that I had in schools and stuff was never as the main teacher with all the responsibility that came with that. It was as someone shadowing a primary school teacher. It was someone that was acting as a TA, or I was a nursery practitioner for a bit. It's like all of that stuff, there wasn't actually as much pressure on me as there would have been if that was my proper job, if that makes sense. I don't even remember where I was at. I tried to give this video some structure so that it makes sense to you guys, but it's ended up just being like a yapping session. If I can work out some structure to the video, I'll leave the chapters in the description. I was talking about why I wanted to be a primary school teacher. And also kind of at the end of the day, after you go into work, you take off the mask, right? You go home and decompress. But obviously when I was planning for my career, I was not with child, and then now I have 2 kids. My mask can never come off because my kids can't see me in my natural state, because that wouldn't be good for them. I am very much someone that likes to isolate themselves, roll up into a little ball, stay in bed, not move. But with kids, it's not quite as simple as that. Another reason why I think it's so common for disabled people to have a small business is because you can kind of obviously adjust your environment. If you have certain sensory sensitivities or access needs, you can cater for that in your own space because you know what you need and you can make it happen, ideally. A lot of the time, I don't like how clothes feel, so I don't want to wear them. And I can't choose to do that if I work in an office with other people around me. But at home, I can wear whatever I want. I can turn off the big lights and have natural light, or just use my little lamps or my candles or whatever. That works for me. But you can't necessarily do that in a space where you work with other people. Depending on your job, maybe you can't even wear headphones, or it wouldn't be appropriate to wear little earplugs. Like I've got the loop earplugs and the flare earplugs. Depending on where I work, maybe that wouldn't be possible for me to wear that. Whereas at home, I can wear whatever I want. And if for whatever reason I'm getting overwhelmed or overstimulated, then I can take a step back from my work for a moment, for a day, for a week. I don't have to push through being extremely uncomfortable or in pain for someone else's benefit. Another more obvious point, I guess, is that a lot of autistic people or people with ADHD have special interests and or fleeting hyperfixations. Can confirm on both ends of that one. And oftentimes what they start their small business in is to do with their special interest. And sometimes it is broad, like arts and crafts or painting or drawing or whatever, but sometimes it can be super specific, and I see loads of businesses that are specific to, for example, cat art or transport art or like wildlife and nature, and you know what I mean, like, so for me, I have always loved arts and crafts and like stuff like writing notes and like businessy kind of stuff. So having an arts-based business is like sick. And of course there are challenges that come with that, and I'm going to get into those in a moment. But in terms of picking a job that suits me, I can't think of anything that suits me more than this. Anyone with both autism and ADHD will know the constant battle you have between having your more structured side of your brain, I guess, which would be the autistic side that craves routine and hates surprises and unplanned changes and hates mess and untidiness and not being organized, and then the erratic ADHD side that, regardless of needing all those things and really wanting all those things and attempting to work towards having all those things, just completely comes and bulldozes all of those plans away. And like, I need spontaneity, and I need, as much as I have some special interests, I also have things that I hyperfixate on that I literally cannot get out of my head until I fulfill. And a lot of times fulfilling just means paying for what's in my massive, abhorrently expensive shopping basket. I don't know if I used the word abhorrent correctly there. I've been wanting to use it for a while, so I just threw it in. Well, I don't know if that's how you use the word. Anyway, super expensive shopping basket, and then not even actually using the stuff when it arrives. Thank God I didn't have the funds to check out on all the silversmithing equipment that I wanted to a couple of months ago, because the interest is gone. It's gone. I've always felt like my constant change in focus and stuff is super negative, and to be honest, overall I do think it is negative. It's really annoying and irritating and causes me lots of issues, but I think flip it in a way that will be helpful for me. And I think one of the other points as well, maybe the last point that I can think of right now, of the benefit of disabled people going into entrepreneurship and having their own business, is, I guess, not having to fight for a place in a neurotypical world. For example, being penalized, I guess, for your disabilities. Some disabilities can be hidden, but some can't, and that will obviously get in the way of opportunities for people. But even hiding a more mental disability, like how I could possibly hide that I'm autistic and ADHD, is not useful for anyone. I kind of feel like I'm going through a skill regression since my diagnosis, because it's like the reason why it's so hard for me to live a normal life that other people are doing without as much difficulty as me is because I was actually built different. So it's quite hard to realize now that it's like, oh, like, okay, I get it. I was never meant to fit in. That's why it's so hard to then continue forcing myself to do that and putting myself in uncomfortable situations and working myself past my max capacity. Like, now that I know that that's what I'm doing, I can't do that anymore. So yeah, just in terms of, I wouldn't recommend hiding your disability from an employer, but then of course that comes with the challenge of not being employed because of your disability. And as much as, you know, people try and say that it's equal opportunities and yada yada, come on, it's not as simple as that, and it obviously does play a part. I think a lot of the kind of pros, I guess, that I've given to starting your own business as a disabled person can be applied to a lot of different small businesses. Obviously, I'm speaking from an art/stationery point of view because that's just my experience. But another point on that, and for people who specifically are doing like an art-based business, is the fact that it is therapeutic to do art. Doing art can improve your well-being, and it has been proven to do that. And I'll try and find some articles and probably link them in the description so I don't have to edit and put it on the screen. But it would also be pretty quick for you to do that yourself. I feel like a lot of people know that anyway. I suppose that is why like art therapy and stuff exists. But I feel like, especially in a climate where, even though it may be beneficial to pay for therapy, a lot of people are not able to do so. Having therapies of sorts, like doing journaling or art projects, is super beneficial. I do think though it's not all sunshine and rainbows when it comes to having a small business as a disabled person, because a lot of even the pros that I've listed can actually be cons. For example, how flexible it is and the fact that you don't have to report to someone. It adds so much pressure, and like the added layer of, if I don't push myself into gear, no one else is going to do that and my business is going to fail. And if your business is really important to your survival, like for example, if you have no other income into your household, then of course that's going to be detrimental. So then that pressure, I guess, will also be even worse for that reason. Another thing is having to do a lot of back-end stuff that you may not do if you were working for someone else. For example, obviously I have to fill out my self-tax return thing, whatever it's called, every year. When I start making some big bucks, finally I can become VAT registered, but that will also be paperwork and putting money aside for that, as well as all the general business stuff. Like I've got a product-based business, so I have to think about how much stock I've got, when am I going to make it, how am I going to advertise it. I'm a one-woman team and all of these responsibilities fall on me. I am the CEO. I want to say I am the captain now. I am the CEO. I am the artist. I am the person, like I am the factory worker who actually makes the products. I am the social media marketer. I'm the one that replies to emails and inquiries, etc., etc. All of this stuff is just like so much stuff to do, so much responsibility that wouldn't all fall onto you if you worked for someone else. Executive dysfunction is the bane of my existence. I have so many ideas and I give so much good advice to do with posting on social media. I'm so humble. So much good advice about posting on social media, different business things, and I can give that advice to other people, but when it comes to myself, I can't follow through on any of that because of my executive dysfunction, and it's really difficult to experience that all the time. It's so frustrating because I'm constantly thinking to myself, well, just do it then. Like, if that needs to be done, then just do it. And I can't just do it. If it was that simple, I would have done it. And I've gone to cognitive behavioral therapy, and to put it bluntly, it was totally useless. It may have just been the person that I had, or the fact that she was saying that she can't focus on my neurodivergence. It's about like low mood and whatnot. And I was saying, I don't think you understand. Everything that you're telling me that I'm experiencing that's low mood is my day to day. And yeah, that sounds like so depressing, or I'm so sad all the time, or like so depressed all the time, but that is my reality. Like, I know I'm going to wake up and feel that way, and even on my best days I'm feeling those symptoms of low mood. And she trying to tell me, oh, you're struggling with these things, because I'm saying I've got like executive function issues. Oh, you're struggling with these things, let's write a list or write a weekly plan, and you just have to make sure you stick to it. Don't let low mood win. Like, think of it as a monster. Like, stop now, stop. It got to a point where I had to drop out because I was like, this is not. I asked for the plan for the next few sessions because I said, if it's anything like this, I can't do it. And she said, yeah, we're gonna like work on these planning techniques. And I was like, you don't think I've tried writing a flipping list? Like, all I do in my life is write lists. I write lists about what lists I need to write. I'm a list maker. Don't worry. I know about planning and I know about lists. But that's my problem. I get so stuck in that planning phase that I can't execute. Well, that's part of my problem. And a lot of the more simple tasks, simple to other people, maybe like replying to emails or replying to DMs or like loads of different small tasks. To other people, it might be nothing. And if I had someone with me and I say, oh, can you do that quickly? They will do it quickly within a matter of minutes. And to be honest, even if I was to do it, I would do it quickly. But it's just getting myself to that point because I'm procrastinating, or I've built it up in my head to be much bigger than it is, or whatever the case is. Or a small task becomes a huge task because I'm getting so distracted. A lot of bigger things for me that again might be small for other people, but there are a lot of things for me in both my business and day-to-day life that can wipe me out for days. And I can only imagine also with a physical like chronic illness that would also be the case, where there are periods of time where you just can't work. If you are a one-person team, if you're not doing anything, nothing is getting done. You see a lot of people will say, for example, oh, like starting YouTube has never been easier. Like, just record on your phone, whatever. And as much as I understand what they're saying, and like getting one video out a week, really in the grand scheme of things, is like, that's so easy. Come on, like, why can't I commit to that? And that's kind of what I said to myself when I was starting this channel, which is why I've done one video a week so far. But I'm really struggling, and I should have known that I was going to struggle with that and picked maybe one every 2 weeks. But anyway, it's just never that simple, because even like 2 tips I've heard from people about creating YouTube videos and like speeding up your YouTube process. One of them is, if you want to edit less and you want to spend less time on the editing process, if you're still at that stage where you're editing your own videos, then film less. Film shorter clips and film less boring parts that people don't even want to watch anyway. What's the point of wasting your time filming them and editing those if it's just not necessary? Okay, great, in theory. Second thing is do videos where you don't have to edit them, like podcast style videos. People love podcast style videos because a lot of people put on YouTube videos and then walk away and they're just listening anyway, which again is great, but it's on YouTube, so there still has to be a video attached to that. So even right now, where it's like, oh, if I could have just uploaded an audio clip, maybe it could have been just me sitting here with my microphone, but actually I had to get dressed. I had to go into my wardrobe and figure out something to wear, something that I'd be semi-comfortable in, because it's that weird weather where if the heating's on, it's too hot, but if it's not on, then you're absolutely frozen cold. But if the heating's on, you open a window, then you're wasting money. Plus, a lot of my clothes are not nice natural materials and they feel horrible on my skin. So a lot of times when I'm wearing cardigans, right now I'm wearing a short sleeve underneath so I don't overheat, or I might even be wearing nothing underneath sometimes because I don't want to overheat. But then the material of this on my skin gives me the heebie-jeebies. I'm wearing my pajamas on the bottom half because you can't see them, so why not? There are a lot of things that don't matter to other people, and maybe neurotypical people can just be dressed all the time, but in my experience I don't want to be dressed all the time and I don't like being dressed all the time. And obviously, as someone who wears a face covering and wears a headscarf, there's that extra element of even more clothes than a lot of people would need to wear if they were filming, and that does create a big barrier for me having to dress modestly on camera. It stops me a lot of times filming clips because I just it's just a step too far having to put clothes on. And even in videos like this that are meant to be all like super easy, unedited, or like very minimal edits, are big edits for me, because number one, while I'm there editing, I'm probably getting distracted. I have to go through the entire footage multiple times because on the first edit I may have missed something, or whatever the case when I'm physically there editing. But also on this end of it, while I'm sat here right now, if I'm not remembering what I need to say, if I'm halfway through a sentence and I forget what I'm going to say, which happens very often, I then have to sit and think about that, or go back to my notes and think, okay, where was I, and try and carry on from there, or just start that whole point again so that it flows better for you guys. A lot of times I can't count how often I will edit out me completely blanking out and dissociating, and or me suddenly going from talking to you guys to doing ASMR in the microphone like this, because it's pretty cool. And to be honest, one of the main reasons I bought this microphone was to do ASMR. But obviously I have to crop that out because no one cares about me going in the microphone. That's just me liking ASMR and getting distracted by the fact that I've got a perfect microphone here for it. And a lot of times I speak too fast, that is probably not coming across clearly. And also the flip side of that, me trying to process what I'm thinking at the same time as speaking, and then it comes out too slow. So it's, at least for me and in my experience as someone with ADHD and autism, it's just not as simple as, oh, just sit down and film a quick like talking head video of something that you've been thinking about, or like a fun topic or whatever. It's not. And this is kind of random, but is true for me. One of the things that really puts me off of filming certain angles and certain clips is knowing that I've got like my shrimpy my typical autistic shrimpy stature, I want to say, but that's not the actual word I'm thinking of. Posture. And also, for example, I am a nail biter, literally have been my whole life. We love anxiety, and I've got, I don't even know how to pronounce it, dermatophagia or something like that, where you like bite the skin around your nails. I know it's gross, but that doesn't stop me from doing it, does it? So I don't want to film close-ups of me drawing all the time, or me holding my products, or even sometimes when I'm holding the microphone. Like, if you actually dig into my body language, there's a reason why I'm sitting in totally strange ways, or why I might be holding something in a certain way, or whatever. So again, these things that maybe someone who didn't bite their nails because of anxiety would not have to think about. As hard as it is, there is a reason why I'm fighting to keep this small business, and why I both enjoy it and think it's worth it from like a job point of view of like needing to make money in life and whatever. And I think a lot of other disabled small art business owners would agree. Yes, my business is growing slowly and it's a messy process and it's really difficult, but that's kind of just who I am. And I was trying to explain it to my husband and to my friend recently as well. If I wasn't getting stressed out at my business, I'd be getting stressed out at something else. And like, not in I'm like trying to make my life difficult on purpose, but I'm always stressed out, I'm always overwhelmed, I'm always overstimulated. Like, removing my business doesn't remove the way my brain works and processes the world around me. At least it's giving me the opportunity to hone in on certain aspects of my neurodivergence that wouldn't otherwise be a priority or be considered or whatever in another neurotypical pathway for my life, I guess. If that makes sense. I don't know if I'm making sense. I always used to stay away from these kind of long form chatty videos because I always feel like I'm going to say something wrong and embarrass myself. And that's, again, another thing, ruminating about all these little things that maybe don't even matter to other people, but you're thinking, oh, why did I say that? Why did I word that in that way? Why did I wear that outfit in that video, etc.? Like, just some small things that as a neurodivergent person can really take over your brain. And I feel like the imposter syndrome we get and how hard we are on ourselves and the level of perfectionism we need to achieve or think we need to achieve, etc., is so much worse and has so much more pressure and negative connotations and whatever than a neurotypical person. And I mean, sue me for saying that. I can't speak on being a neurotypical person because that's not me. There's a lot of self-help stuff out there. Stop being in your own head. Just do it. Blah, that kind of stuff. That's not aimed at neurodivergent people. It could never be aimed at neurodivergent people, even if it's claimed to be aimed at everyone. Sorry, you don't know me. You will never know what I'm going through. You can say whatever you want to me, or just be 1% better every day. I get it, they're helpful, and I would like to work towards being better and having certain business goals and goals too. I'm not saying that like, oh, I'm a lost cause. I need to accept that I'm a lost cause, and I'm like putting myself in a box that means that I can't do anything a neurotypical person can do. But I just mean maybe the way that I'm going to do certain things is not going to be as a neurotypical person would do, or the time frame that I would give myself. Like a lot of people, or doing this within 6 months. Maybe it will take me a year to do it, but I will do it. I don't know. I go off on a lot of tangents and I confuse myself, and I don't really know what I'm talking about right now. Oftentimes, I'll explain to someone, like a neurotypical person, what ADHD paralysis feels like to me. I will use the example of when sometimes I'll be brushing my teeth. This has happened often, but there's like one particular time that sticks out in my brain when I tell this story, where I was brushing my teeth and my thought was, because I had watched a video recently on like wasting water, and I would be thinking in my head, I need to turn that tap off because I'm wasting water. It doesn't take hardly any effort for me to just lean over, turn the tap and turn it off. But I couldn't bring myself to connect my body with my thoughts, if that makes sense. I can think whatever I want to think, but it's almost as if my body has a mind of its own. I'm an intelligent person, and so many disabled people are intelligent people and are totally competent and make amazing choices and have so many creative, genius ideas. It's just the acting on it that we're not always able to do. Going back to the self-help talk and like, I guess the advice that's out there on the internet, it can be quite hard telling people like, oh, you just need to lock in. Like, I get it, and I would love to do that, and I'll keep trying, and I'll keep saying new year, new me, and I'll keep, making plans, but I'll likely keep not sticking to it as well. But I was saying to my friend the other day that what may be realistic as a goal for someone else may not be realistic for you, and it may be easy for someone else to say, all right, I'm going to start going to bed at, like, if they sleep at 2 a.m, I'm going to start capping my bedtime. I'm going to put my phone away by 10 and I'll have to be asleep by 11. For me, it's not that simple, and every time I've tried to tell myself something like that I think sounds simple, it never works. And I was saying to my friend that you need to start setting yourself small goals that feel like they're not helping you achieve what you want to achieve long term, but they are helping you because you're banking evidence in your own head that you actually can do things. So if you currently sleep at 2 a.m. and your goal is to sleep at 10 p.m, then set a goal of, I'll be asleep by 1 a.m. tonight. And that will be easier to achieve than a huge jump to 10 p.m. And you'll be able to, for multiple days in a row, achieve that. And that's you showing yourself, actually, I can do the things I've set for myself. And then you can move that time now to 12, to 11, to 10. Whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, you need to do it in like more manageable chunks for you, what makes sense for you. And other people might be able to watch a YouTube video and follow someone else's blueprint for something. But as a neurodivergent person or a disabled person or someone with a chronic illness or whatever it is that you're going through, if that is not what the person posting that video has or has ever experienced, chances are what they're telling you to do or what they're telling you that they've done and worked for them is not going to work for you. And like, that makes total sense really when you think about it. So I say all that to say, don't beat yourself up when you see content that was never made for you in the first place, because been there, done that. Got the sticker to prove it, or got the t-shirt to prove it, or whatever they say. But it's just not helpful. It's not helpful for you, and just makes you feel more crap about yourself, as if you don't feel enough pressure from everything you've got going on anyway. It's not worth it, like holding yourself to someone else's standards. Set your own standards and stick to those and work to those and do what makes sense for you. This video is a lot longer than I anticipated, so I'm actually going to do a part 2 with my tips and like stuff that I've done in my business to help me as a neurodivergent person, but also some like advice and stuff. I'll do it in its own video, just so that it's a bit more digestible, because I don't want the video to become an hour long and maybe people won't even make it to the advice at the end. But yeah, I don't want to keep going on and on. Thank you guys for watching once again. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.